Boy, what a summer it hasn't been so far, huh? Two film series once venerated for brains and vision got dumbed down into generic action flicks and wound up as box office disappointments, while another series once venerated for brains and vision got dumbed down into a generic action flick and wound up as a smash hit. I'm not sure which is more depressing. Meanwhile, in less than a month, we get to see Michael Bay bend the Transformers over a rail. Again. Is there anything to lift my spirit? Ooh, a Pixar movie. Thank heaven. What a long, strange trip it's been for the wunderkinds at Pixar, no? Morphing from its place as the lone, cutting-edge arm of the once great Disney animation empire to being in charge of the hopefully once more great Disney animation empire. They got there the good old-fashioned way, by being different from everyone else and by being good at it, creating films that connect with audiences on levels the ghettoized genre of the family film hasn't since Walt Disney himself was alive and kicking. There's a lot of theories out there about what makes Pixar so different, but for my money, the most overlooked, though not necessarily most important observation, is that they approach family storytelling from an angle we don't see a lot of anymore. Boys. The traditional Disney model of animated films may have played to everyone, but for the last few decades they've had the big bullseye fixed squarely on the eminently marketable princess set, and thus so did most of the folks trying to copy the formula. Pixar, on the other hand, has thus far trended toward lead characters and some would say sensibilities that run more toward the Y side of Chromosome Street. Beneath all the rainbow-colored CGI swirl, these are man movies about manly men doing masculine things. Sorta, kinda. Point is, it was different. I mean, it's not just that all 10 Pixar movies so far all have male leads, and older male leads at that, by the way. Only Lightning, Flick, and Wall-E seem to be specifically young, and even Wall-E is at least old enough to spend 2/3 of his own movie trying to get laid. It's that they tend to be characterized with that most primal of mannish heartaches, the father-son dynamic. Buzz and Woody are literal icons of classic pop culture machismo, competing for dominance as the surrogate father figure to a young boy. Mike and Sully are working-class schlubs whose comfortable bachelorhood gets upended when they're forced to care for a lost kid. Finding Nemo? Come on, overprotective dad, impulsive son. It's Taken, but with fish. Mr. Incredible is an aging father trying to teach his kids the value of hard work and exceptionalism in a world that punishes the unique and the gifted. Remy the Rat frets that his love of fine foods will prevent him from living up to the standards of his tough, old-school father figure. And now here we have Up, which carries this emerging theme to an even further extreme, telling the story of Carl Fredricksen, a bitterly aging man fighting a losing battle with the slow encroachment of modernity, who finds new purpose as he undertakes a late-in-life adventure and forges a reluctant friendship with an irritating but endearing young boy. It's James and the Giant Peach meets Gran Torino. Of the many delights offered by Up, featured prominently is the fact that the trailers have given almost none of the story away, so I'll endeavor to do much the same, as going into a film like this cold dovetails perfectly with its overall theme of unknown adventures just over the horizon. Suffice it to say that Carl is a widower, locked in the gloom of perpetual mourning following the death of his beloved wife. The film relates their literally lifelong romance to us via a nearly wordless first act that ranks as some of the most powerful visual storytelling I've ever seen on film. Animated or not, it's devastating stuff. We're talking closing moments of Stand By Me here, guys. This backstory and the myriad callbacks to it later help Up pack a bittersweet wallop that makes it the hardest emotional punch to the gut Pixar has provided since Toy Story 2, and don't pretend you don't know which part I'm talking about. Anyway, realizing that the modern world is literally about to swallow him up, Carl hatches a crazy plan using thousands of balloons to turn his house into an airship and haul himself and his accumulated memories on a quest to retrace the steps of an infamous, possibly mad adventurer he'd idolized as a child. Unfortunately, he also picks up an unexpected stowaway, Russell, a clumsy, well-meaning neighborhood kid. Together, they're plunged into an odyssey that allows Up to display its true colors as a full-bore action-adventure movie that flat-out beats the stuffing out of all this summer's other entries into that genre by pulling off what none of them consistently managed: interesting, likable characters in thrilling situations. As is par for the course with Pixar, the visual and thematic elements of the film, while highly original, also seem to draw for some pretty impressive pedigree. Carl and Russell's exploits are rich with the influences of classic adventure fiction like Jules Verne, Edgar Rice Burroughs, Arthur Conan Doyle, and Rudyard Kipling, but I also detect hints of inspiration from German auteur Werner Herzog, who just recently made a documentary about aerial exploration and who specializes in tales of half-mad, half-brilliant men striking bold stands against the forest primeval. His Fitzcarraldo hauling a steamship over a mountain range isn't all that far removed from Carl Fredricksen and his improbable balloon scheme. Even the film's more grim turns, featuring a villain who serves as a dark parallel to Carl's adventurous spirit, carry with them the sense of seldom-seen depth. When Up detours into the heart of darkness, it does so literally, into Joseph Conrad's heart of darkness, which you may be more familiar with as Apocalypse Now. Up is the quintessential summer movie-going experience, a sprawling, adventurous film with thrilling action, hilarious comedy, real scares, affecting emotional depth. It has the guts to occasionally be profoundly sad, but the skill to parlay that sadness into jump-up-and-cheer moments of reclaimed joy, the sort of experience you used to get from the likes of Indiana Jones, or maybe Frodo Baggins. I don't mean to keep beating that horse, but it bears repeating. Carl Fredricksen, cartoon caricature of a 78-year-old balloon salesman, is here a more effective and involving action hero than Wolverine, Captain Kirk, and John Connor all rolled into one. Folks, I could keep praising this for another hour or more, but I hope you get the idea by now. Look, I know it's a cartoon. I know you might want to dismiss it as a kiddie movie. Don't. This is one of the best films you will see this year. Don't miss it. Oh, one more thing. Parents, just a quick heads up. Your kid's new favorite character is named Doug, and he is awesome.
Okay, well, so, yeah, this was the first Escape to the Movies, back when the show was called that because it aired on The Escapist, and that was the name that the website picked for their movie review show that I was the film critic hired for and produced these videos for, did the audio for, did the editing for. There were previous reviews posted for things on the site for, I believe, Watchmen and The Dark Knight that were not part of Escape to the Movies. Since we're doing the uploads of the classic material, I wanted to start with Up. We might go in order, we might not fully. I haven't fully decided on that one yet. Didn't put the new music backing track underneath this old one, left the original audio in. Since it is the first one, just to give a sense of just how primitive these early primitive videos were. It doesn't have the full background art. It doesn't have any of the recurring graphics gags or whatnot. So this was pretty much the raw, unfiltered deal. Other than the primitiveness of it and the fact that I clearly hadn't developed a visual style yet, hadn't developed a speaking style, other than basically just reading my text review and putting a little bit of emotion into it. It's pretty crude. There are no jokes. There's no real sense of personality to it other than gushing like a film student about Pixar, which is what it is, but it was a review from 2009. Cut me some slack. Other than that, I agree still with a lot of what I have to say here. I think the review itself pretty much holds up. I was a little hesitant about going back to look at this one because I remembered having the Pixar movies have mostly male protagonists and do boys' own adventure stories. Isn't that noteworthy take? Like that was some big revelation. Obviously that's no longer the case about Pixar's output, but it was true at the time. And also at the time, the various revelations, the very unfortunate revelations that had been had about John Lasseter and the less savory realities of the myth of Pixar as a magical working place throws that whole observation into an entirely different, unavoidable, very unpleasant light. Can't help but feel uneasy about that. One of the many ways that shows how far and also how not far this has come. This is another review, though. Otherwise, I still very much agree with. This is still, I think, one of the best Pixar movies. If you, for some reason, haven't seen it yourself, it's good. And otherwise, hey, hope you're enjoying seeing these retro classic-type reviews. There is a Patreon. Please give generously so that I can afford to put new stuff up as well. Thank you very much.